There's a type of person a narcissist never fully forgets, and it has nothing to do with how beautiful you were, how devoted you were, or how much you gave them. It's not the person who loved them the most. It's not the most attractive partner they ever had. It's not even the one who put up with the most. The person a narcissist stays obsessed with is someone most people would never guess. And if you've spent any time wondering why they still circle back, why they still reach out, why they can't seem to move on the way you expected them to, there's a very specific psychological reason for that. One that has almost nothing to do with love, and everything to do with something far more primal in the narcissistic mind. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, one of the leading clinical psychologists in narcissistic abuse research, describes narcissistic obsession not as attachment, but as what she calls a narcissistic injury that never healed. And understanding that distinction is going to change the way you see everything that happened between you and them. The person a narcissist stays obsessed with is the one who saw them clearly. Not the version they performed, but the hollow thing underneath. Not the charming, magnetic, larger-than-life persona they carefully constructed, but the fragile, terrified, deeply empty person behind it. Most people in a narcissist's life never get there. They accept the mask. They believe the stories. They're enchanted by the performance, and they stay enchanted, which is exactly what the narcissist needs. But then there's you. Somewhere along the way, you started to see the cracks. Maybe you noticed the way their empathy would switch off like a light. Maybe you caught the flicker of contempt behind the smile. Maybe you started to feel the gap between what they said and what was real. And something in you knew. Narcissists are exquisitely sensitive to being perceived, to being known. Because being truly known, not admired, not feared, not desired, but actually known, is the most threatening experience they can have. And when someone sees through them and doesn't immediately leave in horror, but instead stays and tries to understand, that person becomes something the narcissist cannot categorize. They don't know what to do with you, and what they don't know what to do with, they can't stop thinking about. There is nothing that destabilizes a narcissist more completely than someone who leaves before they're ready to be left. Think about the way control functions in these relationships. It flows in one direction. The narcissist decides when things are good. The narcissist decides when to pull back. The narcissist decides when the relationship is over. That control is not just a preference. For someone with a narcissistic personality, it is a psychological necessity. So when you leave, when you're the one who decides this is done, something breaks inside their internal architecture. Not because they love you and can't imagine life without you, though they'll certainly perform that if it serves them. What breaks is their sense of narrative control. You rewrote the ending of a story they thought they were authoring, and the narcissistic mind cannot rest in that. It has to get back to a place where it authored the conclusion. This is why so many survivors describe the experience of being hoovered back in. The narcissist reaches out. They're suddenly tender, reflective, almost humble. They say the things you needed to hear for years. And it's not that every word is a calculated lie. It's that none of it is about you. It's about restoring the original power structure. The moment that's accomplished, the warmth evaporates. Because it was never warmth. It was strategy. At some point in your relationship, something shifted. Maybe you stopped apologizing so quickly, or you stopped lighting up when they walked in the room. Maybe you started asking questions instead of accepting explanations. Maybe your nervous system, after years of being hypervigilant, finally started sending you clear signals that something was wrong, and you stopped overriding them. This is the moment a narcissist notices, not consciously, necessarily, but in the way an animal notices a change in the environment. You stopped performing the role they cast you in. And for a narcissist, a person who stops performing their assigned role isn't just inconvenient. They're destabilizing. You became unpredictable to someone whose entire psychological survival depends on predictability in others. Trauma therapist Pete Walker writes about how people who grew up in chaotic, emotionally unsafe environments develop an almost supernatural sensitivity to changes in the people around them. And narcissists are no exception. They read micro-expressions. They track emotional shifts. They notice when the supply changes. And when the empath in their life stops being the mirror they needed, the narcissist doesn't simply move on. They become fixated on understanding what went wrong, on getting things back to the way they were, on regaining access to the person who, without even trying, revealed their inadequacy just by waking up and being whole. Here's what's important to understand. Narcissistic obsession is not love, and it never was. It can look like love from the outside. It can feel like love in moments, especially when they're in pursuit mode, when they're performing the version of themselves they know you responded to. But love, as psychologist Eric Fromm described it, is fundamentally about the growth and well-being of another person. Narcissistic obsession is about restoring supply. It's about eliminating a threat to their self-concept. It's about winning a game you didn't know you were playing. Knowing this doesn't make it hurt less immediately. You might still feel the pull when they reach out. You might still have moments where you wonder if this time is different. That's not weakness. That's the very normal neurological aftermath of trauma bonding, a process that psychologists now understand is as chemically real as any other form of addiction. Your instincts were not broken. They were overwhelmed by a system designed to overwhelm them. The obsession doesn't last forever, and the way it ends tells you everything. When a narcissist finally accepts that they cannot reestablish control, that you are genuinely gone, genuinely healing, genuinely building a life that doesn't include them, the obsession often transforms into something uglier. Smear campaigns, triangulation, the sudden appearance of a new relationship performed loudly in your peripheral vision. These are not signs of indifference. They are the final moves of someone whose ego cannot accept that you got free. And here's the thing about that. Your freedom was always the threat, not your flaws, not your sensitivity, not the things they told you were wrong with you, your freedom. None of this means you were a victim of your own value. It means your authenticity was threatening to someone who has none. The person a narcissist stays obsessed with is not the most compliant, the most forgiving, or the most devoted. It's the most real, the one who couldn't fully be molded, the one who, even in the middle of all that confusion and pain, never stopped being fundamentally themselves. That was you. That is you. If you've spent any time wondering whether you mattered to them, the answer is complicated. Because in the way one human being should matter to another, with genuine care and emotional investment, no, you didn't. But in the way that a mirror matters to someone who is terrified of being unseen, you were irreplaceable. And the moment you stopped reflecting them back to themselves, they lost something they will spend years trying to recover. You don't have to carry that. You don't have to stay small so they feel large. You don't have to keep yourself available to someone whose interest in you was always, at its core, interest in what you could provide. The greatest thing you can take from understanding all of this is not satisfaction, though you're allowed to feel some. It's clarity. The clarity to stop asking what was wrong with you, and start understanding what was always right about you, right enough to threaten someone who couldn't stand not being in control of it. You were never too much. You were just too real for someone who was never real at all. And that, more than anything, is worth holding on to.